Everybody, it's Macky again, and we're back with part 3 of this, and we're about through this 4-part series, and I hope you're learning some things going through this, whether you're a potential client trying to hire a private investigator, and when you're talking to them, hey, take me through your process of how you do cases. And if they can't take you through the process, then I would probably move on to the next one. There's plenty out there. And what I understand in Alabama in particular, it's hard to get an investigator to call you back. So give us a call. I don't care. We'll talk to you. Whether you hire us or not, we're going to take you through the process and get your mind working to what a favorable outcome looks like. And that's where we went with the goals. You can see some up here in the back. Step number 1 was list goals. Okay. I didn't even put a 1 in there. Look at that. Step number 1, list goals. A goal is what can give you a favorable outcome for your case, whether you win your case, or a lot of times in civil cases, you don't really win, you get a favorable outcome. So let's go to step 2, though. That's where we get into assumptions. All right, I'm going to change my sheet over here. I'm going to write it down up here. Step number 2, list assumptions. All right, listing assumptions is a big part of this. So we have goals where we said, hey, I want these things to happen. I want this to happen at the end. At the end of this case, this is what I think things should look like at the end. Okay. Now, after that, we got to say, hey, there's some assumptions we got to prove to see if we can make, if they're facts. Okay. You can't take assumptions in the court. All right. The judge is going to shut you down. The opposing lawyer is going to shut you down real quick if you go in with assumptions. What I've heard it said before, assumptions make asses out of all of us, and that is correct. Okay. But we test those assumptions. But let's list some assumptions. And the reason why we list them out is we want the client to understand what we are testing. All right. We put them on paper and they sign it. All right. They say, here's what we think's happening. And here's how we're going to test it. But we're in 2 here. So we're still just talking about assumptions. All right. A big one. I think my husband has a girlfriend. I think my husband has a girlfriend. We get that a lot. We get those calls 4 to 5 times a day. They don't always hire us. They sometimes don't have the funds to hire us. Sometimes they go to another investigator. That's fine with us. We just want to talk to as many people as possible about our services. The husband has a girlfriend is a big assumption. We've had plenty of cases where they said, hey, my husband has a girlfriend or my wife has a boyfriend. And we go out and test through surveillance, and it's not proven to be true. And the client comes back and says, look, you guys did not do this properly. You didn't surveil hard enough. I'm not sure what that means, but I've had it happen before. People tell me that before. Look, you paid for a certain amount of hours, and that's how it goes, man. If you want to pay for more and just keep looking and keep watching, then we can do it. There are some other tricks we use, with talking to people, with interviews with people that may have seen these people coming in and out of a certain area together, but mainly through surveillance when we're proving is the tool we use for proving adultery. All right. Hiding assets. Let's say wife this time. It's 50-50. So let's say wife. All right. Hiding assets is a big assumption. There's limited ways you can prove this. You can prove it through them going to the bank, right? If you're talking about cash as an asset, you can do it through, hey, I think they're hiding company equipment at a different location. We've had that before, and we went over and showed and got tag numbers and proved that the husband owned or his business partner owned these pieces of equipment. We've done that before. So surveillance is one. We can go into the public record and show where they've taken out business loans, done business transactions in the public record, and sometimes it lists bank accounts. We do that. So there's limited ways we can do it. A lot of people say, hey, I want to see what's in their bank account. We can't do that. That's illegal. We cannot hack a bank account. Sometimes we can see it through the public record that they do have an account at a certain place where they've taken out loans. But other than that, we cannot hack accounts. There are some investigators out there that tout on our website and say, hey, I can find hidden bank accounts. I'd be leery of that. I'm not sure what tool they're using. I don't want to get into it. But if it's illegal and you gather that evidence is not going to get to be used. So it's fruit of the poisonous tree. So that evidence, we're going to have another episode on what is good evidence and another episode, but you got to watch how they're gathering it. If they're gathering the evidence illegally, then it's not going to be able to be used. All right. So hiding assets is an assumption. What's another assumption? I listed some here before we started. Subject faking injuries. Subject is faking injuries. We get into that with workers' compensation fraud. We get into it with just plain insurance fraud, where there's a wreck and the insurance is paying out for injuries on an opposing party. And we go out, do surveillance, and prove them wrong. The assumption, we've had assumptions where they say, hey, we think this person's faking an injury. And we did surveillance for weeks. And they went to their physical therapy appointments. They went in on crutches, came out on crutches, and did not go to Lowe's and load concrete bags or heavy equipment from Lowe's or do yard work. Okay. That being said, we have seen it plenty of times where people were saying, hey, I'm injured. I've got an injured back. I can't work. I can't work at the factory. But we do surveillance. We test it with our surveillance, that assumption, and then we see them loading up concrete bags at Lowe's, doing yard work, doing remodels on their home, or even working other jobs. They're double dipping there. So yeah, we have proven that. But that is an assumption. Subject is faking injuries. Subject is missing. Okay. Subject is missing. So typically the missing persons cases we get are teenagers, young adults that are living with their parents, and they come up gone one day. Okay. We had one where a young girl was adopted as a baby. All right. And as she got older, she was 16, 17. She got older. She started reconnecting with her birth mother. Fine. Okay. But also at her home, her adopted family would not allow her to do certain things. They didn't allow drinking for teenagers, which is good. Okay. They didn't allow staying out past midnight, certain things that she couldn't do. And she got tired of it. But one night she broke curfew and her adoptive parents took her phone away. So she got mad and ran off to her birth mother's house. All right. Now they reported to the police as missing, and they hired me to go help find her. Okay. And I immediately went to the birth mother's home and started doing surveillance there. And lo and behold, she was there. Okay. And we called the sheriff and they came got her. But the adoptive parents called the birth mother many times and said, hey, is she over there? And she kept lying to them and saying no. Now, she never lied to the police about it. As soon as the police showed up, she turned the girl over. But I thought that was kind of low down. Hey, you haven't been in our life in 16, 17 years, and all of a sudden you're going to start making parenting decisions? I don't think so. All right. But yeah, we got to prove the subject is missing. Sometimes that's an assumption. We had one where it was a 20-year-old girl who was in college, but she was still living with her parents. And they said, hey, she's missing. And we found out she was living with her boyfriend. Is she really missing? She's 20. She can make her own decisions. Not sure if that's a real missing person, but the parents were worried to death about her, and we did find her. And she was okay. She was just living with her boyfriend. It was another one where they had some rules at home, and she didn't want to follow them. So that's part of that. Okay. Some other assumptions. I had a little pause there. I'm sorry. Some other assumptions we get into is a simple one. All right. I think this person, a phone number belongs to a certain person. Okay. So they say, hey, I keep getting these phone calls, text messages, like harassment from this certain phone number. Okay. And they call us and they say, hey, can you tell me who owns this phone number? And they say, I know it's Sally Joe. Let's just say Sally Joe's the culprit here. They say, I know it's her, but every time I put them in been verified or whatever, none of these phone numbers pop up. Now we run them through IRB. It's a search tool we got that it's a little more, has more, recent data newer data than been verified or any of those others. And we also use Scope now as well. But we put that number in and it comes back as what we call a spoof or a burner number. It means they got some number through text now and you can't track it to anyone. Okay. You can go get a text now number now and put a fake name in there and have a phone number. We run that number, nothing shows up. So that's an assumption that phone number belongs to a certain person. Okay. Another assumption. I'm hacked. I'm going to underline hacked and put it in quotation marks. Okay. All right. I'm a certified digital forensics examiner, which means I can go and help you with hack devices. I'm also a certified ethical hacker, so I can understand how to unravel hacking if it's taken place. Okay. A lot of people come to me and they bring me a computer or a phone. They say, this phone is hacked. There's all kinds of stuff going on with it. And we get into it and run our forensic tool and it's not hacked. Okay. And then they say, well, how do they know what I've been saying? And I say, well, do they ever have access to your cloud accounts? iCloud, Gmail, you name it, whatever cloud account you're using. And they say, yes, they did have access to that at one point. And I say, well, they probably still do. All right. And we go through changing passwords or completely closing in a cloud account and open up a new one. And that typically resolves the problem. It's been very rare that I've got a phone. I'd say we've worked probably 300 digital forensic cases involving phones. 2 of those actually had spyware installed. Okay. Spyware is where they go in and they can root the phone or jailbreak the phone if you get an Apple and install an actual app on there. And it's hard to see just from scrolling the phone. If you hook a forensic tool up to it, though, it can actually see it. Okay. And probably 2 total. What we normally see is somebody has access to somebody's email, or they have access to their cloud, which emails are all stored in the cloud now anyways. They're very rarely locally stored like they used to be. But that's an assumption. Hey, I'm hacked. And then we go out and test it with tools and try to prove it. Okay. Those are some assumptions in cases. Put it in the comments if you want to talk about some more assumptions, and we'll talk about it. We'll have an episode about it. All right. Talk to you soon.